10 Wissahickon High School students were invited to take part in the Delaware Valley Consortium for Excellence in Equity Leadership held in Philadelphia in December. The 10 students were selected by staff because of their leadership potential. While there, they each took part in 2 breakout sessions, each with a different speaker and topic. Upon returning to WIS, they, along with the staff advisors, took time to reflect and share the skills and lessons they learned at the conference, and to discuss and implement some of the suggestions. The students who attended the event are Terrence Bridges, Charles Coffey, Savannah Holcomb, Michael Huertas, Mikaya Murphy, Eric Rodriguez, Anna Skillom, Janae Tarleton, Taylor Tucker, and Darnell Watson. These students are working together to make a difference at WHS and within the community.
Hello, thanks for joining us. We recently went to a leadership program, and one of my favorite sessions that I attended was about a teacher and like his life, and he explained to us some of the tragedies he's been through and what it was like for him growing up and moving around. And the whole point of it was to show that if you know your teacher and your teacher knows you on more of a personal level rather than a like serious school level, then you'll connect with them more and you'll make a better bond, and it's actually a bond that can help you be successful, and it can help you like learn better because you are more connected with them.
And I think that one of the big things about that was teachers are leaders and leaders are teachers, and so I think you have to make that connection, and that's how he's showing us how leaders and people that they're leading, they have to have that connection and things like that. Yeah.
I also feel as though like during that time he was also making the point that like if you realize that you guys are similar on some levels, that like gives you like the push to open up when you feel like you need to connect with someone.
I attended another session. It was kind of like development of becoming a man, and a couple things we talked about are like voicing your own opinion, because when you become a man, you're going to want to have your own say and not what other people think. And also, we talked about owning up to your own word, and I think those 2 things that we covered shows becoming a man in leadership.
I also was in that same session. What I learned about that session was each man should follow their own values instead of what other people should say, not taking stereotypes or what man should become, which I learned from other people in that meeting, that people are different and that not everyone should be the same. Darnell was in that session.
Yeah, I was also in that session, and it kind of like defined my role model, kind of, which is my mom, because she's the mother and father of my family, and like it's like kind of showing like one of the things that we talked about is should men show their emotions, and I said yes, because usually son would like to be like their father, and like without showing emotions, the son will not be able to show emotions, and it would affect him. But having my mother as my role model and my father, it like brings more emotion to me.
Yeah. I'm sorry, you go.
I went to a session where we threw this ball and we threw out like all our insecurities and stuff that made us fearful, and it just makes me think of how you shouldn't stop and like keep playing the game to where you want to reach your goals. So yeah.
Kind of like what Eric was saying, like men, or well, like the session was basically saying that like anybody could, or like a man should not have like an idea, like when he becomes a man, he should have his own idea of what he wants to do. Like when he's a man, like he shouldn't depend on what other people think of as a man, rather like make up his own idea of what a man should be and like how to own up to that.
Right, like in the session, he asked us what was a man. He asked us to make our own definitions in the session. He never actually told us what a man was. He wanted us to make our own definitions. And he kind of made this idea of, you need to be a man with a plan. He told us, he said, stop waking up like an accident. Wake up with purpose. Wake up with a plan to do something that day.
One of the sessions that I really liked was a poetry session, and we basically wrote poems that were sort of digging deeper into who we were as a person, and I think that you went to and that you enjoyed it as well. And I think it was really eye-opening. As a person like me, I like poetry and writing, and so what I took away is that words are a good use of expression, and that used in the right way, they can take you places.
Right, in that session, she really emphasized the power of words and what they can mean. And another speaker talked about that, Ariel Hernandez Castillo. She was the first speaker. She talked about words and how she said you can either speak life or death into a person. And she also iterated how our voices have power, they have worth. And so, and because of that, no one can disrespect us.
So, what do you think a leader is? How would you define the leader?
I think a leader is someone who can take a stand and stay true to what they believe in and know like the difference of how they want to go about things rather than having it influenced by the way other people go about things.
I think a leader is someone who can stand up for themselves and not let anyone bring them down at any situations.
I think that like a leader is someone who can make a change, and not just them themselves, but the people around them.
Right, and they have to have that connection, like with the teacher and student, to be able to make that change within their followers.
Yeah, they should pursue what they believe in, and not fall back or stay with people who are trying to stay normal. People who a leader should do something that makes the world different.
So is it necessarily easy or is it hard to be a leader?
I think it could be both.
I think it can be both also, because I feel as though like to be a good leader you have to like kind of like isolate yourself from like other people who don't want to be a leader or who don't know how to be, and like you have to set an example, but sometimes that causes you to be lonely because like you have to go about the way you want to do things, and some people could take that as being like selfish.
I think for me personally, I think it's difficult to be a leader because you need a certain amount of confidence in yourself, and you don't want to be persuaded by others, but you also don't want to just do what you want to do. You want the input of others, but you need to find the balance between how confident am I and how much initiative I'm going to take and how much charge I'm going to take versus how much input am I going to get from other people that can actually benefit me.
Kind of like what Anna was saying. Like you have to have the confidence. Like if you want to be a leader, you have to have the confidence and like the courage to kind of cut off friends that are like pulling you down, so that like they're basically blocking you from becoming a leader. But you have to have the confidence to kind of like get away from them.
In one of the sessions I went to, it was about like a girl talk, and basically like her whole point was that like you have to do what makes you happy rather than always focusing on like money and what others are doing. And I feel as though like to be like a strong woman and like a leader, you have to do like what makes you happy, and you just have to be there like to guide yourself, but you also have to listen to others, because like no one knows exactly what they want to do in life until like you get out there and you start experiencing things.
So how do you deal with difficult situations as a leader?
As a leader, like for myself, I try to stay positive and like know where I stand, and if I can't get like due to difficult like situations or problems, I try to push harder, and I like usually ask my mom or like my grandma for their advice, because they're usually like good at giving me like advice and how they help me with my problems.
Yeah, and like that's going into how when being a leader is not, don't be afraid to ask for help. It's okay to ask for help. Like leaders aren't completely independent. They need help from other places. They need help from other sources.
advice could like help you deal with difficult situations by like building off of what other people have to say and other people's thoughts while you're still being a leader?
I think to deal with difficult situations, you first need to get perspective and find solutions from that perspective instead of you might be focusing on one tiny part of the problem, which may make it a larger problem to you, but you also want to see where you are and is the problem actually as big as you think it is, and if it is, then you have to take initiative from there, but if it isn't, then you need to get in the right headset and like mindset to deal with the problem.
Yeah, I think you should like first like go into yourself before like maybe kind of think of the problem yourself. Like think first like why am I in this problem? Or like at least first try to find this like a solution for the problem. But if you can't find one, then like go and like search for help and stuff.
Well, referring back to the session that I talked about first with the man and his students, this question says, if you could tell your teachers one thing that you think they don't know or are wrong about, what would it be? And mine, of course, is with my attitude, because I'm pretty sure all my teachers think I have attitude. But like, it's more on a deeper level and what's going on at home and like personal stuff that makes probably like my attitude worse in class on a certain day. So if I could tell my teachers one thing, it would probably be that on a bad day, it's just a bad day. Like, we all have bad days, and overall, I think most of my teachers know that I want to be successful and that I try my best. So if they would just understand people have bad days, we would be cool.
Yeah, I think that like one thing that I would want to say is that like don't like always like there's more to a person, kind of like what Savannah was saying, like there's more to a person than just like how they act like on a daily basis. Like if someone just comes in the class and then just kind of just doesn't really do what they're supposed to be doing, is sometimes not necessarily because they just don't want to do it. It's just that maybe something is like hurting them like on the inside that they just don't feel like, you know, doing what needs to be done. And then you could probably find a way to help them with that.
Especially as a leader, you don't really like to show a lot of emotion because a lot of people follow the leaders. That's what the whole point of a leader is. So like if you are emotional and showing like how you really feel, it can just affect the people who are looking at you as a role model or things like that. So when it is difficult to be a leader, I feel as though.
Yeah, and going into emotion in the what it means to be a man type session, we talked about emotion and what we should do with emotion, and like we all recognize that everyone has emotion and that we should acknowledge that we have emotion instead of trying to ignore it. And so we talked about how we should acknowledge that we have our emotions and then figure out what to do with them. Because anyone can get angry, anyone can get upset, but instead of making irrational decisions or trying to cover it up, we should make decisions on what we should do with those emotions and how we should apply them to better ourselves.
So does anyone think that the choices that your friends make affect you, or like it maybe labels you as the same person as them?
I feel like some people go by the saying, like, you are as, like, the company you keep. I feel like the people you hang around have, like, a reflection on you, but I don't think it should be like that. You should be judged on, like, your personal character and, like, how you do things instead of being labeled as, like, one. Like, you can have a friend who isn't good in school, who doesn't have good leadership skills, and who just isn't, like, where they're supposed to be, but you, as a person, can, like, do different things. Like, you don't have to be just like them. Like, you may like their personality or the way like they are, but you guys just don't have the same work ethic.
Right, I agree. Like, you can be friends with somebody and not be influenced by them at all, but it changes the way you're perceived by other people.
Yeah, going on what Mikaya and Charles are saying, you have to be able to have the drive to do what you want to do, not what other people want you to do. So, yeah.
Yeah, like in the first speaker that I heard was, she said that her friend was dealing with problems, and then she came across to a problem that she couldn't help with. So she stood by her own opinion and saw it as she could do something different instead of just following what her friends were doing, which was doing drugs or selling drugs. She saw it and she took her own choices and did what she thought was right and do something else.
Right. She didn't let her friends define her.
Yeah, like her whole life she like talked about how her parents weren't stable. But it's kind of like her parents were leaders too, because although they could have sent her to a public school, she was able to go to a private school and get a better education. So they knew like the area they were around was bad and that they wanted her to be different. And she kind of used that to her advantage because she was successful in school and she was able to separate herself from all the bad things. Even her best friend was like, came up to her and was like, we should sell drugs, or she was thinking about it, and she still kept true with what she thought was right, which was just going for what she believed in and trying to be successful rather than being just like everyone around her, which was drug addicts or drug dealers.
Yeah. And I don't think that necessarily, like, there is, like, if you have friends that are negative, they'll have a effect on you, but it can also go the other way. Like, you can have friends that are like that are very positive, like they're doing really good in school, and if you're trying to become a leader, you could look at them as inspiration or like ways that you could better improve yourself.
Or you could positively affect your negative friends. Yeah. And I think one of the other points the first speaker was trying to make is she made that choice to separate herself from the negative aspects of her life. She made that choice, and she said her choices affect you and the people around you. So I feel like she feels like we have circumstances, and then we have to make choices based upon our circumstances.
So overall, what messages did everyone get from the conference?
From the conference, I got that the only person you have in the end is yourself, and you're either gonna make it or break it. So, yeah.
What I picked up was like you have a voice and you have to use that voice, or you're just going to be like everyone else, and like no one will ever hear what you have to say unless you say it. You like, yeah, pretty much.
What I kind of got was that is like everybody, like basically everybody can be a leader. It's just that the like it's your choice whether you want to be one or not. Like what I'm saying is like you can be a leader. Like everyone's like born with like the attributes and the ability to become a leader, but it's on yourself whether you choose to or not. And if you choose to, you have to know what and what not to do to become one.
I agree with Terrence. What he said, how everyone's born with the attributes, and I also agree that it's up to you on how you're going to either continue with the attributes or just let them be. You can also better yourself by continuing with the attributes of becoming a leader.
Overall, I got was that you have to listen to yourself and your inside and use your own personality and your surroundings to build your own character rather than letting other people try to build your character, because you can have that positive friend who wants you to do better, but you have that choice to either do better and follow what they're doing and become your own leader in a different way, or just stay behind.
I learned that like although you can have negative friends, like you can either like not be their friend but not like stay close to them anymore and like go off on your own, or just like hang with them and not like be successful. But
overall, I learned that going along with what Savannah said, you have a voice, and like your voice can be really, really powerful and like can strongly benefit you in the long run. And just you have to speak and provide what you can.
The message that I took away is that you matter as a person. Like, no matter how insignificant you think you may be, you're not actually like who you think you are. What you perceive yourself to be is not what you're actually who you are as a person. So, and what others perceive you to be isn't who you are. So if people see you in negative light, that may just be because they don't know who you are, or they don't really know you as a person. They just think that based on what they see on the outside, but you as a person need to stay true to who you are on the inside and stay to your morals and what you believe in, and that will help you through life.
One of the many things I learned in it was the last speaker. She said she was an African American Hispanic, and she grew up being judged on, but she didn't take that to hide her culture, and she embraced it by writing poetry. And she wrote poetry in Spanish and English and some in African, I believe. And that's what I learned, that you should be proud where you come from your background, and not just let people judge you on and then hide your culture.
Yeah, kind of a culmination of what everybody's been saying, like about voice and being proud with yourself, and like just knowing yourself and loving yourself. Like you have to love yourself to be able to love and lead anybody else. And I think that was really one of the biggest messages in that leadership conference.
So thanks for joining us.
Goodbye.
See ya.
Yeah.